big shifts. I say that slight shifts in the prioritization of bans. The big ones being Malzahar being taken away from Perkz. Very annoying mid laner. We have started to see it rise in popularity more.
Especially what happened against G2 last week with Splice. I mean, it's demonstrated its power. There's the Nidalee ban. It's going to be a quick first pickup of the Sivir for Unicorns, which was banned the last time around.
Wouldn't be surprised to see something like the Karma being picked up now for Mithy to deny the Sivir Karma duo, because we know how good it is at engaging and disengaging.
And doing everything.
The wave clear, the poke, there's a lot available to you.
Yeah. The Elise was also banned away too, so without the Nidalee in available for Trick, it does seem like a really strong choice here, although they may opt to not take the Karma on this rotation, which would free it up to Unicorns. Very potent.
Yeah. Also, by going for an early Trundle, you have to be wary of the Gnar, because game 1, remember that it was banned away by G2, which meant that there were fewer negative matchups for Expect. But this time, there are options available, and we do know that Chachi can play the Gnar as well. So having that locked in does mean that UOL have the potential for a counter pick. Meanwhile, Trick going for this Elise, he's basically saying I can still have my same sort of early game prowess. Maybe not to the same extent that you can do on a Nidalee, but the principle is still the same. Cocoon very powerful early on. The base damages on an Elise are great. You only need your jungle item to really outduel a lot of other junglers.
Right.
And it also limits move a lot. Likely he's going to shift back to the Rek'Sai, which is something that he's had a lot of success on in the past.
Yeah, global pressure is still the name of the game for Unicorns, even though they weren't able to really do much with it last game. The Shen is maybe a little bit less favorable up into the Trundle, but they will, if they lock this in, have the Rek'Sai available to them to get around the map a little bit cleaner and a little bit quicker. Something we didn't talk about in this pick and ban phase or the last was the Vladimir being left available. And looks like it may be what Exileh decides to pick up blind, but of course it is a very strong pick in general.
Yes, it is. He has very few bad matchups, and with Malzahar gone, something that is regularly picked into the Vlad because it can deal with the pressure that he can exert, as well as scale very nicely with him. It's a pretty safe pick right now, because, I mean, Perkz, he can go for the Azir if he wants. Slight nerfs, but still a strong mid lane champion. Offers great utility, scales very nicely. Unlikely that he is going to go for the Zed. It's actually not the greatest matchup for the Zed.
No, but he does like to get the hover on. Just remind everybody of what he's able to do. Speaking of reminders, yes, I remember the new game trick. And Zven. That's not happening. Not this time. We didn't talk about the Gragas being locked in as well. It's something that Move has played a lot less of than the Rek'Sai, but they opted for it this time around. On G2 side, they take the cast in, lock it in the Lucian, so there's some mobility that they're adding.
So right now, Unicorns have a great way to actually engage fights, because they can use the Sivir on the hunt to then close the gap, and then you have the Gragas to either set up for a flank, or just basically run at the enemies and then use that ultimate to split up the enemy team to then follow up with the Vladimir damage. So nice engage coming out from Unicorns. They also have plenty of wave clear, and they have strong laners, because Sivir does very well during the laning phase, Vladimir does very well during the laning phase. So right now, all across the map, they're looking pretty strong. For G2, they're actually on the slightly weaker side, because you cannot match the clear on the Lucian against the Sivir, and then the Kassadin is going to just get bullied around by the Vladimir early on.
Oh, okay. This is looking much more like a Unicorn's composition. If they lock this in, a couple of seconds still remaining. The Bard, we hit it last time around. It's going to be in Hylissang's pocket, and the Shen comes in for Chachi again. Shen comes in for Chachi again, so they've got the global pressure available. They've got a lot of speed boost. They've got some serious playmaking potential now with the Bard.
Yep. This is a much better draft from the Unicorns of Love. They have 3 good lanes. Shen typically doesn't win lane, but he's never known for losing it because of how safe he is. Even in the early levels, you can actually out-trade the Gnar if you time your W correctly. And that means that Unicorns have the pushing advantage. Move can concentrate on controlling vision, farming up, becoming this good, beefy mid-game tank. And then you have the Bard for the roaming potential, for setting up engages.
Hold on a second. Let's talk Fiora, because we got some changes too.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Yeah, now, that puts the Trundle down on the bottom side for Mithy. This is very interesting.
For those unaware, we did actually see the Fiora over in the game 1 between Giants and Origin. She did have a couple of small buffs. Now she actually gets a little bit more healing back, as well as she does a little bit extra damage on those vital points when she does proc them. On top of that, the scaling on her Q early levels has been increased, so it's gone from 0.5 5.5 up to 0.95, which is actually a surprisingly large increase, even though if it's only by 0.4. So, powerful, potent top laner, and we're seeing this trundle down in the bottom lane. So, lane swap likely to be coming in for G2 just to avoid that Sivir Bard combo.
Oh, yeah. Well, this one's definitely still going to be fairly explosive. We may have a bit of a delay on it because of course, the teams are going to likely opt for that lane swap. We'll see if your prediction proves true. Coaches shake hands, walk off stage one last time. Do you think the Unicorns can come back into this one? If you do believe in the power of pink, hashtag UOL win is what you want to be tweeting at LOL Esports. But if you think G2 can cleanly close this one out and grab themselves another 3 points on the board, staying way out in first place, hashtag G2 win. We'll find out how it's going to come about in just a second.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Unicorns, bit of a crushing defeat, but I don't think it's going to affect their mentality that much. They're a very positive team. They always try to look at the bright side of things. And now with a much stronger draft, I expect them to be able to put up a much better fight in Game 2.
Oh, yeah, these Unicorns definitely know how to stay frosty, stay frozen and cool, and they'll let it go for game number 2. Loaded up onto the Rift against G2.
So, Perkz going to be running in the Kassadin. Now, earlier on in the day, we did see this Kassadin into the Vladimir matchup. Typically, early on, heavily goes in the favor of Vladimir, largely because what he can do is he can walk up, he can use his Q, and while Perkz can trade back with his Q, once you have the Crimson Rush, it does much more damage than the shield will offer. And typically, a Kassadin will max his E, primarily for the wave clear, to try and match a lot of the early pressure that Vladimir is putting out on a lot of the early wave clear that he has, which means that Perkz basically isn't going to aim to trade back and forth. He's just going to aim to get through the laning phase because he knows once he finishes the Rod of Ages, once he finishes that Abyssal, he's going to get to a point where he can actually outscale the Vladimir and meet him in a side lane and start to outduel him. So he's basically just going to be playing as passively as possible. The 2 versus 2, on the other hand, definitely want to avoid for G2 because Veritas and Hylissang have so much pressure. You have wave clear on the side of Sivir. You have damage on the side of Bard. Bard considered to be one of the highest damage dealing supports in the bottom lane. And it is so easy to push around a Trundle who can honestly do very little in the early game. So G2 just saying, all right, nah, mate, nah. We're just going to get away from that. Going to go for the lane swap. It will hurt Expects just a little bit. But what we have seen from Expect is he can actually play a lot of carries up in the top lane. I think Fiora will be a great pick for him.
Yeah, let's definitely keep an eye. Of course, it'll be a little bit of time with the lane swap coming in to see when they actually do clash head-to-head. Veritas and Hylissang waiting down on the bottom side. Same trick they tried to pull last game, but it's not going to be bought by G2 as they'd already moved up towards this top side. So it'll just end up resulting in the push. Unless Expect is not expecting something, he's able to lunge out.
Yep. So he wanted to try and get a bit of farm where he could. He was expecting the Unicorns to be starting on the Krugs, but they did not decide to go for it.
This is the thing about Unicorns, though, too. They will do stuff that you kind of don't see coming. And that's what the last game's chaos in the early game was all about. Move is actually going to find Mithy in his own jungle, and he's taken quite low here. Oh, Ignite! Okay. I think he might go down. No, Mithy can't quite get the last club.
I knew that flash wasn't going to be able to close the gap. The slow from
Mithy's out for blood this game, man.
Yep, but he needs to be careful because he doesn't have flash.
Yeah,
but
he won't go down, though.
Zven is going to keep him alive. Going to burn the flash remove, but no summon is now available for Mithy. Not too bad during the lane swap. You just have to be careful because if you do overextend, the punish remove can be pretty significant. But here we go. Standard lane swaps.
Standard lane swaps, as opposed to standard lanes?
Yes. Standard lane swap.
Excellent.
Nothing too unconventional right now.
We do get the sweet Voltron cam, though.
Ocean Drake on the board, so unlikely that we're going to see a prioritization on that. Because sometimes you may see teams, if there's an Infernal, straight after the lane swap, you go to the Drake, you pick it up, and then you revert back to standard lanes. But that's unlikely going to happen given that Ocean is on the table. Meanwhile, in the mid, as you are seeing, Exileh, so much more wave clear with the E. Perkz just having to do what he can, farm underneath the turret. Doing a pretty good job so far, impressive. Because it is pretty tricky on
able
the
to harass
Kassadin.
Yeah. I mean, it's what the Kassadin's job is, right? Survive out the early game. You're going to have a lot more power a little bit later on. The towers will finally get traded. Switch off the cams right back on out. Still very early in this game, only 3 minutes, and the gold is obviously not swung much either way. I really want to keep an eye on now that things should settle after the reverse push or what have you, what the junglers are going to end up doing, because Trick has that early pressure jungler in Elise. Move kind of got harassed a little bit in the early game, but he's right back at the action, and he's pretty much evened himself out. Perkz going really low in the mid, though.
That's something you have to be so careful of when training against the Vladimir. If you don't play around his Crimson Rush, you will heavily get punished for it. You can already see all of his Corrupting Potion stacks have gone. But if you run Teleport into any matchup with Kassadin, one of the great things is, oh no, I've been bullied. Ah, you've hurt me so much. I'm going to have to go back and teleport back into lane. I'm fine, I now have items. All the damage you did has been completely denied. So he's going to pick himself up the Dark Seal, mostly for the sustain, because it gives you additional healing with the Corrupting Potion. But also he's got himself a Doran's Ring in there to add a bit of oomph every time he tries to trade back and forth.
Exileh will want to try to match with a little bit of damage, but he's also got more magic resist available for himself as he picked up the mantle to start things off. And 3-man push from G2. It's not going to go a whole lot farther. Or 2-man push, I should say, since it was fended off by Chachi. Mithy and Zven back in the 2v2, so we don't get the reverse fast push that we might have expected. Unicorns are not going to offer that up.
And right now, just keeping an eye on some of the items. Early Tracker's Knife on top of Trick means that you will have a little bit more vision in the early game. Move decided not to pick up his jungle item just yet. Actually decided to go for a very early Hunter's Potion. A little bit unconventional, valuing the sustain. But it will
last game when he fell behind.
It will cost his jungle kit. That's actually really surprising, especially on a Gragas, who typically doesn't take that much damage throughout the jungle. So
yeah, he's got some padding, that's for sure. Spec's going to move up back towards the top side. They really have an eyeball on this second-tier turret. We'll see if they can push it in any farther. But maybe a little while before that can happen. Exileh taking a lot of damage from Perkz right now. Trick is moving around the side as well, but in comes Move. He gets the bop off. But Trick is going to instantly repel over to Grom.
He's going to steal it away too, just to add insult to injury. So now we start to see Hylissang actually move around the map, looking for a potential roam. Level 6 being hit for Perkz, deciding to play much more aggressively.
They're silly. Okay.
And if we actually check out his leveling path, this Hylissang,
oh,
going to take a bit
surprise.
Of a beating, but he's fine.
I've got a journey.
But yeah, if we take a look at Perkz' leveling path, he's actually decided to max Q. And now if you're going to do this on a Kassadin, it means you're actually more interested in trading back and forth with the Vladimir than you are in just clearing waves and being more passive. And this is not a surprise from Perkz, because he does like to play aggressively. We know him as that style of player. And
not the only one on his team. Look at Trick, man.
Yeah, I mean, stealing away the camps. This is just Perkz using the Q shield to mitigate a lot of the trading potential that Exileh has. Because... oh, look at this.
Hello! Exileh real low, but Perkz was deterred from finishing that job. All of a sudden, Gragas came out of nowhere. Hylissang had his back, too.
So this is also a problem that you have with playing aggressive. Your tendencies become almost like clockwork. You can read what your opponent is trying to do. So far, Perkz, whenever his ultimate was up, he would Rift Walk in. He had the stacks built up, which means that he was doing bonus damage. And because of how much mana he'd burn, it was actually very dangerous for Perkz to go for that. So he's immediately forced to flash away. Good collapse from Unicorns, recognizing the consistent pattern that Perkz had fallen into. But now, with the vision that you can see in the top half of G2's map, they spotted Move moving away from the Dragon, and that's resulted in G2 being able to pick up this objective, as it looks like they revert back into standard lanes.
Yeah, so things just settle after a little while. First Dragon goes over to G2, uncontestable by the likes of Unicorns of Love. 600 gold is really the difference, but that's mostly just been on farm differential. A lot of it actually Perkz has kind of had over Exileh for the time being.
So not quite the same bloodbath that we saw in Game 1, Pyro.
No, definitely not. It's a much slower, much more peaceful game, if you will.
Yeah.
And, hey, while we're here, though, one thing we definitely want to remind everybody, still Week 9, the European LCS, it's going to be Saturday, Sunday. These guys will have a lot more time to recharge and rest than they normally would have, a couple of extra days. Yeah. So regardless of how the results kind of swing after this week, you always got a little bit more time to prepare.
Do you know what, Pyro? If people are still confused as to when exactly that is happening on Saturday and Sunday, do you know where they can go?
I think it might be LOLesports.com.
Huh, how convenient.
There we go. You can also find all the VODs and all sorts of cool stuff on there. Lots of articles.
Ah, interesting.
I'm reading a couple of yours. I'm getting smarter, Veritas.
Getting smart.
That's what I tell myself.
Good one. No, I'm kidding, Fire. I'm kidding.
God, BM. All right. Exile's taking a lot of damage here from Perkz, and the shield's still there. He's got to be careful. He wasn't really able to put out the damage he needed to, and like you could see Perkz is just like barely stepping outside of the tides.
Exile, I have a bone to pick, but I'll pick it with you later as Unicorns. 3 members strong in the bottom half of the map, pressuring this minion wave underneath Expect's turret, so he is struggling a little bit. Whereas on the other side of the map, Chachi is not struggling because he's only having to deal with Zven, who, to be fair, has actually accrued a pretty significant gold advantage, or CS advantage even, because he realizes where move is on the map, and he is acting accordingly. That's why he's not afraid to go past the danger zone of the river. But Hylissang, moving up towards this ward, mithy might want to try and contest it.
He's going to try. The ward's already down, but Hylissang has actually been pillared. In goes the Shen, and they find Perkz around the side, and they bob him back and forth. He can't get nearly enough damage down, but Zven comes for the relief effort as Trick flashes back onto the safety of tower. Exile will still pick up first blood. Perkz could not get away.
He didn't have his flash from earlier on, and now Expect is the next target.
Grand challenge, but he's exhausted, has to burn his flash, and the rest of the Unicorns were charging him down. He finally gets away. Unicorns with a quick pick, though.
Good decisive play from the Unicorns, punishing the fact that G2 were a little bit split in trying to set up for that fight. Now they are forced onto wave clear duty, but I don't think it's going to be enough.
There is a big calling. Chachi was taking tower aggro, and Hylissang is caught. He has to throw down the magical journey, but Expect is right on him. Riposte is there, but Move is going to hop and bop, but Expect still able to pick up the kill. Bard, very squishy champion. G2 now make this a 4v4.
Big misplay from Move, and the action might not be over yet.
Yeah, in comes Perkz right around. That fight's gone on long enough. Exile will pick up Trick in the back, but Expect answers on the move, and it's gone all sorts of haywire once again. Exile finds himself without friends, and Expect, can he make it out alive? No! Exile with the flash after.
He's trying to run away. He doesn't have the flash. He doesn't have the ghost. Perkz' ult is just about to come up, and I think this is going to be another kill for G2.
Exile. He's trying to get back to the safety of the tower, but he's stopped by the pillar. Mithy's right behind him there. They're trying to give the kill over to Perkz, and they do it. Let's take a look at the damage report.
So much gained for G2. What looked like a promising fight for Unicorns ends disastrously as Expect comes in from the flank and is able to do so much work. So have a look at how this all plays out. I want you to keep your eyes on Expect, right? So he's going to use the response, Move body slams into him, allows him to get the stun down onto Hylissang, which nets them their first kill. Big mistake from Move there. Then they get funneled into this choke port. Perkz has TP'd in from the flank. They go for the re-engage, don't respect the pillar that cuts off their escape route. And then in the 4 versus 3, it's so easy for G2 to then clean up the fight. They end up getting a delayed ace. It ends up being 3 for 5 overall in the favor of G2. But G2 are able to stop the push, and they get themselves a pretty significant gold advantage this early on into the game.
And that's the important thing. It's starting to look a little bit closer to last game. Chachi now is isolated. He's got no way to get out of dodge, or does he? As he taxis onto Trick, does he have enough health? Does he have enough shield? Under tower, he's going to go down.
Clean execution from G2. Very little required as they punish Chachi for overextending. He buys plenty of time, but with the repel, that's more than enough for Trick to be able to get out.
Where was Chachi, Veritas?
He was in the bot lane.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. He was in the... No, to be fair,
you
he
had
a turret.
One job.
He had a turret, so it wasn't the danger zone. It wasn't.
I see. But he still died.
Yeah, he did still die.
You're going to have to draw the boundaries of the danger zone for me.
In the mid lane, though.
Point. Exile up. He could be in trouble, but he is going to bring Chachi right back with him if he makes it out in time. Pools, they turn their attention over to Mithy. Flash is forced on both him and Zven.
Very aggressive play from Exile, utilizing the stand united from Chachi to force both flashes out from Zven and Mithy. Now Mithy alone underneath the turret. Unicorns, they want to get this objective that they tried so hard earlier to claim.
Hylissang comes in, he goes out on the magical journey. That's how it works. Veritas is tanking tower right now, although he is caught by the cocoon. Tanking even more is very low, but Trick doesn't have enough to follow up into that Pride of Unicorns.
So, Unicorns, unfortunately, still deterred away from that mid lane objective. Still sitting behind in gold, 2,500. But what a crazy early game. Usually about 11 minutes seems to be where things really kick off for both these teams. And we are continuing to see this once more in game 2. Now G2 posturing around this blue buff. They want to try and contest it. Extend their vision line even further. With Expect in the top, he is level 8, working towards that black cleaver. And the blue buff does seem to be the big point of contention.
Things are flying here. See if they can get it. Trick does manage to get out with it, and Chachi's going to have to taunt his way out of harm's way, and he dodges. But there's the big barrel coming in. It knocks a couple members of G2 sideways, but no one from Unicorns wanted to take it.
So no blue buff gained for G2, no kills picked up, and no even summoners burned. So G2, they're just going to say, right, we'll take ourselves a Rift Herald. You've used that big ultimate in the form of the barrel. You also don't have Stand United, you don't have the Emo Plague, and they're looking for a kill on the Hilly.
Yep. Exile tags Hilly out. Still G2 are perfectly fine, very comfortable position right now. Still 2,000 and some change in the lead. As Expect will now pick himself up. Glimpse of the Void, and that'll make Chachi's life even harder.
Oh yeah. The damage reduction when Expect is just sitting in a side lane will really help with dealing with the Shen, who in all honesty can't do that much damage anyway. And the big thing about this matchup, we didn't talk much about it earlier on, but if you're allowed to have the 1 versus 1, Shen doesn't lose lane, but he doesn't win it either. Which means that Fiora is allowed to free farm, and it allows her to hit those big item spikes without any real points of contention.
Yeah.
So she's just free to scale up, and eventually she will outscale. She's known as the duelist for a reason. But now look at Zven, who gets binded.
Does get caught, does take a Boomerang Blade, full channel, sends a culling immediately after that. The Unicorns really do like to stick together and try to force G2 to come right back, but they're leaving some of their lanes a little bit occupied right now. No one's in the bottom lane dealing with Perkz. They're only just sent Chachi up to stop Expect. G2 definitely controlling the tempo of this game 15 minutes in. There's an Infernal Drake, by the way, coming up next. That'll be something both teams will not want to stand idly by for.
Definitely agree with you. It's going to help a lot with both comps that scale very nicely into the mid and late. Zven has decided to go for this mid-game build once more. Has picked up the culling as well. I say the culling. It's not actually what I mean.
He's popping the culling.
The cull is what I
cull.
mean. Yes, that's the Badger. So I'm keeping my eyes on Perkz too, because he's actually decided to go for Merc Treads. Interesting choice. The tenacity will be valuable, but it's not an item that you typically build on mid laners because it's not that valuable. You should be positioning in a way that you don't take that much crowd control, but because you're going to be diving on the backline a lot, it's acceptable for an assassin to pick one up. But it will hurt your all-in potential because you don't have the flat pen or you're not going for cooldown reduction. So you're mostly going for these sustained trades, which is fair against the Vladimir. So just a unique way to build, a number of options that you have for the Vlad. And it actually looks like that he is working towards that Abyssal. Makes a lot of sense to Trink coming in for the flag.
Yeah, he does. Can't quite land the cocoon, but he does have a serious amount of damage he was able to dish onto Hylissang. Magical Journey, Perkz in hot pursuit, dodges half of the Boomerang, and Exile gets ignited for his trouble, has to burn his flash as the culling comes out to clear. G2 have zoned the Unicorns off mid lane once again.
Really like the back and forth from G2 where they just get close enough to get a bit of damage down and then they disengage. And they slowly wear Unicorns down, which forces them off the tower and forces the flash out from Exile. And while you'd think this would be great for G2 to take down the mid-tier 1 turret, unfortunately they have the wave clear. Unfortunately for G2 even, the wave clear from Sivir is far too much for them to really close that one down. But they sent Perkz to the bottom lane. There's no one to answer because Exile got forced low, and that still will result in another tower going down to G2.
G2 still retaining this lead in tempo, extending the lead in gold. Unicorns trying to recoup their losses right now, but they've lost some ground in vision on the bottom side. That dragon pit around the back of it's lit up like a Christmas tree. And up on the top, it's all that Veritas can do to try and fend away from Expect. He's actually calling for help right now to try and keep this one pushed out. Mithy looks like he'll be responding, but so is Hylissang.
And it's interesting how Unicorns of Love have quickly adapted from game 1. Abysmal start. They played the game a little bit slower. Not afraid, though,
they
to
had
try
some
and
weird
force
tools in their inventory, though, you've got to admit.
Yep, they did. But still, props to not conceding the same sort of lead as you did in game 1.
That's true.
Always got to look at the bright side where you can.
You said you had a bone to pick with Exile.
Ah, yeah. So early on,
if he doesn't die.
If he doesn't die.
Okay, he's got Shen. It's cool.
But my bow. Ooh, Tempered Fate.
You're going to have to hold that one for just a second. They got Tempered Fate out onto Trick, and they miss. Will they have enough damage to finish him off? It doesn't look like it. The barrel sends him flying, but he's right back into tower range. Unicorns are going to try to finally finish off this turret, but they spend a lot to secure it, and Perkz goes in on them right now. Slowed down. Chachi, can he tank enough? The Culling comes out. Exile's got to pull away. Very low. The flash is double kill instantly from Perkz, and he's looking for more.
Oh, I thought that could have been the Penta, but expect he might look to try and clean things up.
Goes in, stopped by the pillar, or rather the pillar stopped him from his own teammate.
Oh, that's
going to be tower, though, for G2.
Such a juicy opportunity. I could see it in Perkz' eyes. He was like, I have the ultimate. It's got many stacks on it. All I need is my E and I could kill everyone. This could be another Penta. But no, he decides to take the safe approach. Let's just take the tower. Let's not commit too hard. We've got ourselves a couple kills. The Infernal Drake spawning soon. But great play overall from G2 to turn that fight so heavily in their favor. So initially UOL tried to land the play. Missed binding from Hylissang, good repel, failed taunt from Chachi, poor barrel from move, means that all the initiation tools are now gone from Unicorns.
And then
they should disengage at this point, but Perkz plays hyper aggressively. Great pillar from Mithy, slows down the disengage. Perkz is just dancing back and forth, and there it is, flash into the ult, into the W. It's enough damage. And you can see 2 low health targets. Perkz wants to try and go for it, but he decides not to. Expect coming in from the flank is enough to force Unicorns to love away. Nets G2 a mid-tier 1 turret. And now look at that gold lead that they got themselves.
Yeah, on top of this, Dragon's coming up in 30 seconds. Unicorns are not like to give this up without a fight, but it'll make it that much harder for them to do it. The gold lead is still massive again for G2. This game has looked a lot less hectic than we saw last time around. But despite the conventional picks, despite the conventional opener, G2 are still dominating in this mid game.
Yes, they are. So just to backtrack a little bit, my bow with Exile, still holding on to it. But I'm not going to have time because Veritas is going to lose his life.
Yeah, and he's got Chachi coming in. The grand challenge, though, is not going to finish. He gets the heal up, but he can't get the job done with Veritas, and the rest of Unicorns collapse. But look, now you have a Castin teleporting in. They're going to turn their attention towards the Dragon. Oh, he stopped the teleport, excuse me.
The thing is for Expect is that is enough pressure to draw Unicorns a level away, but Exile, he wants to try and keep the fight going.
Actually, Unicorns, they make a power move here while the Castin was away up in the top side, and they get themselves the Dragon. That'll seriously help. A double binding, double barrel there. Now it's Expect, and they are going way too low in this. Tempered Fate stops at Mithy, Trick trying to do the job, but they know he's going to be down as Exile will grab him. And they chase on to Mithy, Zven trying to lead him astray.
Great binding from Hylissang, making up for the one that he missed earlier, but Perkz has joined the fray.
Perkz trying to cut them off right around the neck here, and they do back out. So look at that. Unicorns managed to get themselves an Infernal Dragon and a kill. They did give up a tower, and Perkz does not want to fight this.
I don't know about that. Perkz is always up for a fight in Unicorns. They are issuing him the challenge, but Mithy now could be in some trouble.
Slowed down for just a second. Hylissang will dodge out of the Ardent Blaze. Got Chachi now pushing, trying to equalize on the bottom side, but Expect will be there to match him. And G2, now that they've recovered a little bit, they're looking to push back on in. Magical Journey, but Hylissang is already out. They turn over onto Exile, who's going to be just fine.
He's got a lot of sustain now on the Vladimir, working towards that Rylai's Crypto Scepter after completing his Spirit's Visage. But let's have a look at the fight. Because what happens is Unicorns, they force G2 away from the Dragon. They re-engage to try and steal it away, and then a great double binding into double barrel is exactly what they need to net themselves a couple extra kills. They shut down Trick. They aren't quite able to chase anything further down, but Exile displaying how valuable he is right now on this Vladimir, and it's slowly turning into a battle of the mid laners. Who can carry harder? Exile doing what he can with the 4 kills, all of the kills that belong to the Unicorns of Love, with Perkz sitting on 5, 1, and 1. Both have completed 2 items. Morello has actually been finished for Perkz. Makes a lot of sense into the Vladimir. Will help if they decide to meet in the side lane.
Yeah.
But crazy stuff.
The mid laners have definitely come up huge this game, that's for sure. 4-1 to 5-1. Unicorns of Love trying to claw back some of that gold that they'd given up. They do have dragons. Advantage over G2. Just able to recognize the moment and collapse and get a little bit back for themselves. But still, they gave up a tower for it all. So it's not like G2 went away empty-handed in all of that craziness. It's going to be so hard for Unicorns to come back into it. But once they group, once they force attention, G2 just seemed to hesitate a little bit too much there.
So the thing that I'm actually keeping my eye on for the most part is Expect right now. because 23 minutes, or 24 even, as Perkz gives us a bit of a dance. 24 minutes in, 2 items finished for Expect. This is the point at which the Grand Duelist earns her title, because there are very few people that can challenge this power spike that she has just hit.
Don't forget Glimpse of the Void, too.
On top of that, it's still evident. And remember now the Vitals have been buffed. So her ability to trade, especially with a Shen, is extremely powerful. This is one of the reasons why we saw the resurgence of Gangplank, because he is allowed to free farm against the Shen, but can match the global pressure. And now Fiora is being picked for the same sort of reasons. You're allowed to have a free laning phase. You're allowed to trade evenly. And Chachi, he can stay alive, he can deal with the pressure, but he's going to be constantly pushed underneath his turret.
Yeah, he's going to get ground no matter what in this matchup, and G2 know this. They're going to take full advantage of it, trying to get the 4-1 on, and you could just see where they've invested all their vision. G2, they've got a lot of wards around this Baron pit. It's 25 almost minutes into this game, and Unicorns, if they can't react fast enough, G2 can definitely turn a fight on him. They find Move behind a pillar. He's going to have to belly bop over it. Perkz is waiting around the side. He will not go into that hornet's nest that is Unicorns. They can just afford to try and buy some time here as the push continues down on the bottom side between Expect and Chachi. Mid tower should fall pretty shortly. There's not much of it left, but in goes Exileh. They're interested in kills instead.
He is fast.
Proto Belt indeed. Okay, that's going to be Zven going way too low. And Move actually gets the kill credit for it. Mithy and Perkz around the back, but look at the damage onto Veritas. Perkz just cleans up, and they turn their attention to Hilly. That's another double kill over. Expect following through. Move will not pick up a triple. It's taken away by Expect, and now they chase on to Exile.
G2, they're looking for the ace, and what looked so promising for Unicorns has ended in disaster, and here comes Perkz for the cleanup.
Grand challenge. Expect is there. Tides of Blood. Exile knows there's not much left for him to do. Riposte is in there, but that is going to be it. Pool will buy a little bit more time. The ace is going to come, and it will be at the hands of Expect. And guess what? It's Baron time.
With 4 members strong and Mithy still alive, there is no reason why G2 cannot try to force this play. Hylissang, he has respawned. Chachi on 7 seconds left. If they want, they could look to try and contest, but it is a risky thing to do when G2 just looks so strong.
If there's ever a team to pull the trigger on something like that, it would be the Unicorns, but do they have enough time? Chachi would need to throw down the Tempered Fate. It's not happening. G2 Esports grab the ace, they grab the Baron, and 26.5 minutes in, that gold lead is 10,000 strong.
We're looking just like it was in game 1. G2 find a commanding fight, which quickly snowballs in their favor. And look at this, Exile, so quick on the mark. Uses the Ghost, uses the Proto Belt. On top of the ultimate from Shen, enables him to just kill Zven. And you'd think this looks great, but then Perkz joins the fray. You've also got the Fiora on the backline, ready to come in and clean up the fight. This was just Trick and Chachi going up against one another. Trick able to come out in the 1v1. But Perkz just did so much damage. He just shut down Veritas.
We didn't even see it in that replay, but yeah, he just deleted him.
Before he had an opportunity to really do anything. And you can see why. Late game Castellan, 10 stacks on that Mejai's. Now Zhonya's done. Doesn't even need the Abyssal. He said, you know what, I don't care about magic resistance. All I care about is damage right now. And he sure has a lot of it.
Yeah. Perkz is definitely rolling. Starting to look like what we saw from him in the spring split. Different champions, of course, but still dominant performance nonetheless. And he's finding those kills, finding those picks. And just, I call him picks just because he's deleting people, even if it is in team fights. Dragon should go down pretty easily for G2, so they'll grab themselves more regen with the Ocean Drake. And then Castellan's going hunting up on the top side. Chachi, I think your days might be numbered. In comes Perkz. Throws down the shield, tries to teleport out, and he is actually going to cancel it himself. Or silence, rather.
Interrupted by the Q. Perkz now continuing the chase.
He's not going to finish the job. It was a bit expensive to try and do that.
Yeah, he's probably going to run out of mana as Trick now running into move.
All right. Expect, though, is back on the bottom side. He continues to push it in. Chachi would need to make tracks to get down there, but he's actually moving back up towards top. Trick is taking away the jungle. Everything's falling apart for the Unicorns right now. What hope is there for this team?
The Vladimir right now. 4-2-1. Does do a lot of damage in these team fights. The problem is they have no way of dealing with all of the threats on G2. You have a 7-1 Castellan, you have a 4-1 Fiora, and then, sure, you've been able to kill Zven a few times, but you've seen how easy it is for the rest of the team to then clean up on the side of G2. So, honestly, there are very few options. Late game Sivir is very powerful when she has 3 items, but I honestly don't think that G2 are going to give Unicorns of Love an opportunity to stall out that long.
Doesn't look like it. 29 minutes, they're on to inhibitor towers here. 4 members strong, the wave might get melted through, but it's taken a while. Meanwhile, Perkz was splitting in the mid, and he's unopposed still. He should be able to secure this one up. No one's even making a move to stop it. Hylissang will go over with the magical journey, but he's able to rift walk out of harm's way before going right back in for Hylissang. Tagging in is Expect around the side, looking for Exileh now as the Hemoplague's on, but Perkz, he will just barely get his Zhonya's off. This only ends one way. There's a shutdown, but look where they're giving up.
It doesn't matter if Perkz goes down. He's done his job. He's drawn the ultimate out from Chachi. He's got the ultimate out from Exileh. And this just means that G2, they could look to try and end the game.
Yeah, Trick and Zven here down unopposed on the Nexus turret's move. Just throws out a barrel. In comes Mithy here for some support right now. Unicorns are going to try to desperately fight this one out. They get the barrel, knocking Zven as he dodges right into the belly pop. They will take him down after a fashion, but even with Veritas getting that kill right now, they're bleeding in their base.
And Expect, he's still alive. He could look to try and go for a cleanup, but he's decided it's too risky. Just back away, take the inhibitor, take the turret. And we're going to be happy with that. G2, perhaps a little bit uncoordinated, giving a few kills away that they didn't need to, but I think they can be pleased with their overall net gain.
Yeah, Baron buff expires pretty much on the tick of them moving back, so they made a really good use out of it. 3,000 gold, the lead that they've extended with that Baron buff. 30 minutes into this game, it is a ridiculous gold lead for this team. G2 have been not 100% flawless, but about as damn near as you can get.
They've responded so well to the Unicorns. This is something that we were discussing earlier on, Pyro, which was G2 do a great job of punishing your mistakes. If they see an opportunity to take advantage, they will do just that. And Unicorns, a lot of the plays that they have been trying to set up, they have just been punished for it in kind. So you can see now, good collapse onto Zven. Move actually... See, now I don't know if Move was predicting the dash, because if nothing else, his body slam would have just gotten in the way of Zven as he tried to escape. But still, we can give him the Mad Life play, the prediction on the dash.
Yeah, why not? I mean, it was a good move by him. But there's still just so much for Unicorns to do to get back into this game. They find themselves down over 10,000 gold. They lost pretty big on that Baron power play. And in order to really get any more objectives in this game with just the inners, except for the top lane, I guess, remaining, they need to just find a huge fight. The problem is, as you said, there's so many threats on this team. The Fiora has been coming into her own for the last 10 minutes here, and it's been ridiculous. Perkz has had this insane damage output where he can just press a delete button on the map. And then Zven's still there.
Yep. I mean, Zven has been getting caught out a couple times, but still, the amount of damage that he does cannot be underestimated, as now he's completed the Phantom Dancer.
And speaking of damage that can't be underestimated, Chachi's finding out firsthand against Perkz. Oh. Rift walks away from the Tempered Fate with fancy feet.
No blue on Perkz. Could be pretty big. Speaking of big, though, look at Expect. He is...
Hold him off in the mid lane, that's for sure. And there's a wave of minions marching up topside. I mean, G2 are looking to close the jaws shut on this 2-0.
Here comes the TP from Perkz. He has gone to base.
Ghost is popped. Exileh knows the time is now to try and make something happen. He's sitting, though, at half of his health. They do get the wave clear. Perkz is going to hop around the side looking for some damage on this tower, but Unicorns move right back into them. The body slam does connect, but Perkz still rift walks away. It's just a slow march to victory here for G2.
Yeah, G2 are struggling because they only have short-range champions, which means they have to get very close to the turret to actually kill it. This means that they either need a pick or they need to do stuff like that.
Maybe Hylissang going low, but Perkz was followed as well. Expect goes around the side, and tagging him in was Perkz, who managed to pick up that kill. He goes low, but not low enough. The barrel comes out, and Move tries to disrupt the fight, but it's all going to go crazy here for Unicorns as they're struggling to stay alive. Trick low, Expect, and they're going to back out, but they got the tower.
But this is it for G2. They're not easily able to close out these fights because Exileh is doing such a great job of buying time. He draws so much attention from G2 that this is actually enabling Veritas to get a lot of free damage down, but Chachi, he's overextended.
Oh, way too far. Perkz picks him up, and Move is going to find out the hard way that G2 can rally like none other. Expect goes in with a lunge, but Exileh will be able to turn him away for now.
Move still looking for a possible pick. His ultimate is down, but Expect he is overextended.
Oh, there's the repost though. G2 still want to try and fight in this choke and see if they can draw Unicorns away from their base, but Superman is still streaming in. The Grand Challenge is issued. On the move, and Zven picks up Exileh. The threat's going to be gone. Expect tags back out. Perkz gets another kill. A big spree for him as they look to take down Hylissang and end this game right now.
G2 find the 4 versus 5. They get the picks that they need, and now they have everything in order to close out this best of 2 series.
G2 0 at 34 minutes in. They will take the victory, and oh, did it look clean.
Congratulations to G2 on a commanding performance in this.